Well, welcome everybody. Today we have Chris Baran, and I'm super excited. Before we got started today, we had a little off-camera conversation and dialogue, and what he's going to bring to us today is just going to be phenomenal. He is a global artistic director. He's a trainer, a coach. He's a founder of the Trainers Playbook, which is an easy to understand technical training system, turning stylists into six-figure earners and elevating the teaching skills of our industry. He is the Canadian Hairdresser and International Stylist of the Year. He's received the Lifetime Achievement Award, the Avant-garde and Master Stylist, Texture Stylist, Hair Cutter of the Year, the Best Educational Program. The list goes on, and he brings a wealth of knowledge with us today. So with that, Chris, welcome.
Well, first of all, Tina and Sean, I just want to say thank you for having me on Next Level Leadership. And I want to thank you for that amazing intro that I wrote. But I just want to say thank you because I think, as we were talking about before, it's always about how do we help help our industry and all the people that are out there grow.
I love that. So, how'd you get started? You have all of this experience underneath you, all of these awards. So where did Chris get his a start? Was it always a passion to go into hair? Did you kind of just fall into it?
No, I had, I'm being really straight on this one. I'm usually the joker, honk honk. But no, I had no interest of going into the hair industry. My mom was a hairdresser, and I knew if I became a hairdresser, I was going to be a mechanic because I loved cars. But I said, Mom, I'm going to be a hairdresser, and the main reason was I couldn't get fired, and I knew I'd get a pretty good wage because my mom was paying me. But and my first 2 years in the business, I wouldn't have hired me. I was interested in partying my brains out. I wasn't interested in education. I wasn't interested in going shows because it took me away from my friends and girlfriends. And the reality is, here's what changed my life. I had one girl that came in, the new fashion beauty shop, you catch that, in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Central Canada. And she sat in my chair that day and she said, "Don't cut my hair today, Chris." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I'm going to Montreal to get a good haircut." And that person changed my life because I knew it was time. I was either quit or find out what the hell this Montreal haircut was. And after 2 years of just sitting on my tuchus all day, that's when this shift happened. And I started to get interested in education, and I got hooked. I became an educational junkie. And that woman who I hated, and I had to imaginary, I'm not a violent person, but pull the scissors out of the back of her head. But I'd send her roses now if I knew who she was, because she changed my life.
Oh, I love that. What a great story. So after you found out what the Montreal haircut was, what was the next step in your journey? Because you've now won countless awards and you have a training program.
Yeah, well, it's first of all, just to put that in perspective, that everybody always thinks about that. Just remember, I won on the few times I feel more like the Susan Lucci of NAHA, etc. And for those who don't know Susan Lucci, the soap star that never won an award until recently, and I think that was a lifetime achievement. But the point is that just meant that of those times that I won, of the people that were there. And I don't wear that as a star. I enter that stuff only to prove to me that what I can do and what I can have. That's my main goal on that. So, but thank you for reading those out. But what hooked me was, I remember that I went to a show and I saw this motivational speaker on stage and I said, I want to do that. And then, so I just became a comedian. I just, to me, it was, I didn't know how to teach, so I just told jokes. And I remember, I remember one girl, this was at the Vancouver Allied Beauty Association show. And I remember those were the times when you had to do 2-day show, 3 or 4 classes a day. And I remember this woman sitting in the very front row and she said to me, she saw it every day, first same row, never left her seat. And I remember at the end of the class, she came up to me and she said, "Chris, I just wanted to say that I just loved your show. I laughed and I laughed." And I said, "So, yeah, no, I saw you there." And she said, I even saw, I even had my staff bring me lunch in at the breaks because I didn't want to lose my seat because I loved your show. I laughed and I laughed. And I said to her, "So tell me, what was the biggest thing you took away?" And she said, "Oh, nothing, but I laughed and I laughed." And that's when I realized that I didn't know how to teach. And that's where I started getting hooked on trainings. And Blair Singer, who is part of the Rich Dad Poor Dad group, really made a profound difference for me when I remember sitting in his class. I took a 7-day training course that was just through the like it was from 6 a.m. in the morning till like midnight, and they put you through the ringer. And I remember succinctly that him saying this in the class. And I stood up and he asked me what I got. And I said, Blair, so you're telling me that it's not what I say, it's how I say it. And he went, bingo. And that changed my life insofar as training at that time. And I spent the rest of my time, hundreds of thousands of dollars, thousands of hours delving into training an adult education. And to me, that was the biggest difference of how do we help our industry train better so they get a better connection, they get better in education, they get better exchange of messages, and they help to embed the information better. And to me, that's what changed my life, and that's kind of the growth I've gone on. So yes, hair, it was always hair, it was always avant-garde. That still drives me. But what drives me, especially in this last, cycle of my life, is how do I help hairdressers teach so that they don't have to go through the pain, the suffering, the money, and the anxiety that I had to go through.
Love that.
Wow.
And that kind of leads right into your trainer's playbook. I kind of talk a little bit about that because everybody always wants to be that 6-figure earner.
Yeah, well, Sean, thank you. How do you put this into a nutshell? Well, I'm going to give you the shortest version, and then I'll jump just into it a bit. I had so many people. We put out a cutting system, and first of all, everybody's got a cutting system right now, and they're dime a dozen, and they're great, and they're all good. First of all, if you people are listening, I don't care whose cutting systems you take, you have to have a system that helps you understand, not memorize. So, but the reality was, I had to put out a cutting system, and I had these people. I said, here's a cutting system, and you can use that. And he said, well, Chris, I love you. I love the cutting system. I don't have time to train, or I'm burning out my educator's training. Can you come in and train? I'd love you to do the training. And I went, well, I'm a one-person operation. I haven't figured out the cloning system yet. My wife hopes I don't. But the point is that I figured, what can I do to put a system together that employs everything that I know about training and everything that there is about how to get to somebody on the floor faster, so that you can train people better. And let me put it this way: there's 2 systems that we have. I mean, I'm a baby boomer. If you're listening right now, I have gray hair, I have a gray beard, I'm wrinkled. Nothing that anybody out there is going, oh, look at that, looks interesting. But the reality is, I came from the baby boomer industry, or the baby boomer side, where you got into the industry, you did a 1-year or 2-year or 3-year apprenticeship, then you got behind the chair, and then you worked your tuchus off to get your book full. And that doesn't fly anymore. We have a whole different culture out there. People will not work. They don't even want to work respectfully. Please, what I'm saying, this is all respectful. So we should have changed this 100 years ago. But instead of just shampooing, folding towels, sweeping floors, and doing that, what are we doing to upgrade those people as quickly as they can so they can make a financial contribution to the company? And because if you really look at it, if you really look at how our industry is set up, and if you look at, let's just take a quick figure here, and you might have to help me with some math here, but I'm going to keep the figures really quick. And when you talk about how long it takes how much money is invested into training somebody before they actually get a return off of that person that's in our industry, who doesn't want to work that long at minimum wage and not getting anything out of it, and that's why they leave. So that's another story. Let me back it up. So if you take somebody that, let's say, and here's one thing, that the first thing I tell owners, and I get a lot of pushback on this, and whether you believe it or not, that's okay. It's my opinion. Owners should not be training. Owners should not be doing the training. That should be from your educators or the people that you hire to do it. And granted, if you're just starting off, you may have to start at the beginning, but you need to groom somebody. And those people should be paid. The way we burn out our educators is by having them do the training for a pittance, and they're doing the same thing over and over again, and that person leaves and they burn out. So let's just take a look at the cost of what it is. First of all, I'm a little excited. I tend to talk a little fast when I do that, and I stutter a bit. So if I'm talking too fast, just tell me to slow down. But the reality is this. If you take a look at that, we take an educator, Sean, you're the educator, and I take you out from behind the chair. And just because, like I say, I'm from that mind, little gray matter in the head's getting a little rattled at my age. So I want to keep the figures really simple and easy. But let's just say that you generate, $100 an hour behind the chair. You know, not real figures, but let's just say that's what it is. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. It's $100 an hour. And let's say, excuse me, God, I'm at that age where I have to look in the mirror and say, Dad, go away, because I have the grunties every morning. Okay, a little cup of tea will help. But let's just say, Sean, you had to spend at what most of us did, what I had to do. I didn't have a training system. So the night before, I'm sitting on the couch, sitting on weather, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell am I going to teach tomorrow? And let's just say I put 2 hours in at that. I put 2 hours, and whether it's at the salon, whether it's at home, let's just say now I do the training together, get everything set up. And let's just say I put another 2 hours after, and let's just say I have to do some coaching, but let's just round it out altogether. What I had to put out as the educator took me about 4 hours to do, right? Would you agree that that's fair? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say 4 hours. Yes. And behind the chair, Sean produces, imaginary figure, $100 an hour, correct? So that class right there cost about $400 in lost revenue. Okay, that makes sense? Yep. Now I lost it, but I should be paying Sean for it. Now, the reality is, let's just say salons don't go at you should never be paying 50% commission if you're paying commission. But the reality is, let's just say for easy figuring, let's just say that I'm going to pay him half. Okay, that's $200. So now I'm at $600 that class has cost me, correct? Most people don't think about this, because I can remember talking about the final figure, and one of the things that I said, and somebody said, who's going to spend $16,000 to $20,000 creating people? I said, well, man, if you're not doing the math, then you just don't know how much money that you're actually losing by not getting people on the floor quicker. Okay, let's just say that's $600. Let's just say that you're only doing one class a week. I would recommend many more if you want to get them on the floor. Let's just say you did it like I did. When we trained, we had one class. It was every Monday night. You had 2 to 3 hours that you had your class, and you had to do work. Let's just say, easy figuring, so you're doing 40 classes a year. So the way I look at that, that's coming out right now to $24,000 a year that if you're doing it over a year's training, right? Let's say you're just, well, I only trained mine for 6 months. Okay. That's 12 G's. 12 G's it's costing you to get somebody on the floor in 6 months. You see it? Now, somebody can say, yeah, I'm going to poke all sorts of holes in that. But I just want to give people from an all-over perspective of that training costs money. And that's generally why the owner does it, but it takes them away from their vision. It takes them away from where they want their company to go, because they're spending all their time training the people. Okay. I had one interesting person that I loved it when they said to me, so, you know, and it was actually a thing that I heard from a CEO was talking to his team, and the COO, the operating person, or it was a CFO, the financial operator, came up to him and says, well, what would happen if we didn't train them? What, you know, like, why don't we just quit out the training? Because we tend to train them and they leave. And that person said, well, what happens if we don't train them and they stay? Okay. You know, I'm not saying anything that somebody hasn't heard before, but that's what we need to go. Everybody's going to leave you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't train them. You know, we all left, we all went in on our own, we all did something. But my point is, what if I can train you, and what if I can help you so that I find out what your goals, and given me, I'm just changing my vernacular right now. I have no I have no idea what that word vernacular means, but I try to use at least, I don't know what it means. I try to use at least 7 or 8 words a day that I have no idea what their meaning is. And that, so it makes me sound really impotent. So, important, sorry. But, bum. But the reality is this. If we can spend as the owner finding out what they want, and that's where I've changed the words I use. I think that what means vernacular, is the words I use. I talk about want. What do you want? Not what do you, what are your goals? I don't know about you, but I've had past goals that have failed on me and as well in the past, or I just didn't do it. I didn't do anything to do them. But if you talk to me now about goal setting, it'll tweak in my brain that some past emotional negative charge. Just making sense so far.
Yeah.
And that negative charge tells me, don't do that. You know, I would never say that I didn't do something wrong, but I would say that stuff doesn't work. It didn't work for me. I'm not a goal setter. Okay. I just let it happen. But if I said to you as the owner, and I went up to you in my one-on-ones and I said to you, tell me what you want. What do you want? What do you want personally? You know, if you're planning a wedding, do you want to go on holidays? You want to buy a car? Do you want to rent a home? What do you want out of your career? If you're my apprentice, I say to you, okay, well, how soon do you want to get through this associate program? Do you want to do it and so you're actually helping somebody and contributing in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks? If it's, I want to be on the floor, you know, I hate that word, but if I want to be in the salon area and I want to be having my station, my chair, my clients in X amount of time, what do you want? And then I set up a training program for you individually that sets you on that mark so you can get your goals. And when you don't get them, I don't go, hey, Chris, you idiot, look at your numbers. You're way down. Instead, I can say, hey, Chris, look, I just want you to know, and I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I know what you planned for, and I've been helping you along with that, but you're down a little bit on this. How would you see that we should adjust this time-wise, money-wise, want-wise, so that you feel good about where you're going with this? How can I help you with this? Do you see? So, and so I'm going in a roundabout way here, but here's the point that I'm getting at. Salon owners everywhere are losing stylists because they're not getting the growth. I mean, let's just say negative environment out of it. Let's just say we got a positive work environment. People are loving what they're doing, but there's either no growth or there's not a growth for people to get them into. Or let me rephrase that. There's not a place for me to grow into. And what the hell does that mean? Well, maybe I want to be a director. Maybe I want to be an owner. Maybe that's a great opportunity for me to say, OMG, there's either my succession plan or, wow, I've got a second salon I can start up here. You see it? Now, there's a 10-day course and everything we just talked about, but these are just, you know, and I'm not going to call them thoughts. I'm going to call them realities that are going on out there right now. So to swing this whole thing back, Sean, to 100 to 180 degrees to where we started with the question, why did I start the training program? Because there is training programs out there, and I don't care if you use mine, use somebody's, because we need coaches, we need mentors, we need help, people help to figure it out where it is. Is ours perfect? Not 100%. But it's damn sight better than not having anything that can guide you along. You know, in business as a whole, you know, and this, I got this again from Blair Singer, and he talks about the 4 tenets of business, and I'm just going to run you through them just really quickly here. He said there's 4 things that you have to have a good business. The first thing, everybody must sell. Everybody's got to sell. If you have a business and you're not selling, I don't care if it's shirts you're selling or hair, everybody's got to sell. Sales equals income. And that even means, I'll give you an example. Marjorie, who's one of our amazing people that works for us, And she said, well, listen, all I'm doing is handling this stuff. And I remember when we were doing this, I remember our coach said to her, listen, all that means is that you're selling, if you might not be generating dollars, and by the way, she generates more dollars than all of us do right now. But at that time, he just said to her, look, that just means you tell them that Fuel and the Trainers Playbook is the best damn thing that's ever out there. That's selling as well. So everybody's got to sell. You got to have a great team. So that means pick your team, pick the right people on the right bus in the team, not my stuff, other people's. Okay. Everybody's got to be able to teach. So you've got to be able to teach your clients. You have to be able to teach your associates. You have to, owners got to help to teach you on business, etc. You see? So, and then you've got to be able to teach your team to sell. So you got to be able to sell. You got to have a great team. You have to be able to teach, and you got to be able to teach your team to sell. And then you have to have, in business, you have to have an accountability system set up. So in other words, you got to have systems in place, systems for finance, P&Ls, systems for training. You have to have a common language. How do you teach people the common language? You see it? And then you have to have a code of honor. If you have a code of honor of how this sets up, code of honor is nothing more than a set of rules, just like I see right behind you there. I promise to. All of those things that are there, that's what sets you up for success within your salon in a positive environment. So if you can do that and set everybody up, now let's take it back. That's a tenet of business, correct? And if I see potential people that I have that can be either business partners, just like, it's exactly the way that Tina saw it in you, Sean, is that I got a business partner here. And if I can have a business partner, now I have a succession plan. How many people are out there that are owners know even what a bloody succession plan is? No. They don't know how to exit their business. That's why they say the best time you ever thing was the day I bought it and the day I sold it, or the day I lost it.
Lost it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just went on a rant there, but let me just kind of end that with a quick period and then see if there's anything you have
Oh
to
my
say.
gosh. Now you know why I stalked him, Sean, on social media. And that's how I found Chris Baran. And I was asking, I have another coaching company. I have two coaching companies. My second one is with Christine Zielinski and Nuala Gadea, and both of them absolutely love you. And they actually had some questions, and I'm like, you already answered their questions, so I'm super excited about that. But you hit the nail on the head, Chris, and I wish that we had 3 or 4 hours with you, because this is so powerful. And I want to talk about we offline, where a lot of them are of our graduates that have say is probably the biggest reason, besides having a flawed business plan, business structure, right? That you think that they have had to shut down. What have you seen as you've been coaching?
Well, first of all, while I'm going to give as an opinion here, and everybody knows what our opinion's like in here right now, but here's the reality. I won't go into it. I mean, if you know the story, then you know what it is. I don't want to say bad words on your podcast, but here's the reality. Business, and I'm going to, and I'm first of all, guilty. When I started off, I just thought all it was, hey, look, I got a full book. So I can go out there and teach. But here's the thing that's flawed about our thinking, not our industry. It's a flawed about our thinking in our industry right now. Because in our industry right now, and again, this is stuff that I've had to pay thousands of dollars for. I didn't come up with it. I want to be really clear on this. This is stuff that I've learned from other people. And I'm not the one that really came up with this stuff. But here's what I will tell is that in our business, I want you to imagine right now, I just want you to imagine a grid, so you have a vertical line, a horizontal line, and you've got 4 quadrants. You've got 2 on the left and you got 2 on the right. Okay. And in the upper left one, I want you to put in there and just imagine that's solo. In other words, I'm an independent person. Now, I don't mean independent meaning that I have my own business. I mean independent that I might be working for somebody else, right? So I'm a solo person working for somebody else. I'm a solo. Got it? That means that I'm governed by the time and many hours that I have in the day, and the number of dollars that I can make in that time frame. Okay, did I put that in a way that was understandable?
Yes.
Okay, now that's in the upper left-hand quadrant. So that's where I was. I was working for Bill Ross, my mentor, my teacher, my friend, and I went, I'm freaking amazing. I have a full book. I'm booked up 6 months in advance. Therefore, I am phenomenal. So I went out and I started my own business. I moved Albert to that other one. So in that bottom left-hand quadrant, excuse me, I call it my chair. I bought myself a business. I have my own chair and I had other employees around me and I had no idea how to run my business.
Right.
I just happened to succeed only because of quality of work, but I had no idea. I had other people that would come in and do my books. I had no idea how to run a book, but I was still, everything in my power in my business was still run by a clock, by how many appointments I could take in a day and how much I could charge in each one of those spots. So I'm stuck on that left-hand side of the quadrant where it was all about clock, all about money and hours. Now, if you move over to that right-hand side, and especially that upper right-hand side, and let's just call that the leveraged quadrant. That means I have put systems into place where I do not have to work behind the chair unless I absolutely want to. I can run my business. I have a vision for my business. I have a plan on exactly where my dollars go. I have a plan on how that I can succeed or how I can grow, and I have a business plan. And I have people that are all making good money, that they're part of that, maybe it's only a small amount, comes back to me. My business coach said, you know what I love about you, Chris? He said, which I had a hard time imagining, but he said, I love the fact that you, rather than wanting to have a 100% of one thing, you want to have 10% of a lot of things. And if you get 10% of 20 things, you get 200%. If you want 100% of one thing, you get 100%, which usually is nothing. Okay, so that's in that upper right-handed corner, which is leveraged. That makes sense so far?
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I want you to think about the way people get rich, the way successful people. No, let's just define success. Success can mean rich to some. It can mean I'm working the amount of hours that I want to other. It can mean that I am fulfilled. That's all success means. But whatever your level of success is, success. If you think of rich people think differently than a lot of other people, because most people think that I always call it be, do, have. Whatever way that you want to be, whatever you want to be, then that's what you have to do. And then you'll have whatever those rich people have or whatever you want to have. Most people think of it the other way around. Most people think, what do I have to do so that I can do what I have to do in order to be what I want to be, which is rich or successful? You have to think of it the other way around. So just what do I want to be? Just that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll get what I have. Now that's the way that leveraged people think. And then they'll take and they'll say, okay, how now I'm going to want to move down to that bottom quadrant. And that's called the investor. The investor can be, I'm going to take the money that I'm learning from other things, the money that I make while I sleep, and I'm going to invest that in other things. And salon owners that are successful, and we know a lot of people who aren't, but the ones that really are, they're investing in other businesses. They take the systems that they have, they make it scalable, and they move it on to one more location and then another location. And if they don't want to do that, they're going to take it and they're going to invest that in other things that grow while they're sleeping. And that model to me has just been profound in helping us to understand what we have to do and how do you take what you do during your hours to make money and what are you doing during your off hours that makes money so you don't have to put in the hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just it. I think most people don't understand that you're just buying yourself a job, right? And so that's every time Sean and I coach salon owners, we're like you do realize that that's what happened. They're like, oh my gosh, you're right. I really have. Yeah. And so it's frustrating for them, but getting out of that vicious cycle, right? And what I find Chris, I was just coaching one of our grads that went into a salon suite. Okay. And every salon she went to, she had realized that that they had too long of a training program. 2 years, and they were like, no, I can't do this 2 years. And I can attest to that 2-year program, because we did that to our staff in the beginning, and we started to realize that they were losing all of their talent. They forgot how to cut hair, so we had to like start over and put them through cosmetology school again after 2 years, because they had been folding towels and just assisting. And we're like, no, we're getting them on the floor as fast as possible, people, as fast as possible. And so we've structured our own salons in that way. And but that was the reason. But here's the thing, now she's like so frustrated, and she's like, I didn't even want to share with you like how I was failing. And so I've been kind of living in this failure mindset because of fear of telling the truth. And I'm like, girl, you are talking to the right person. I'm going to help you through this. And so starting to coach her again too. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And I realized there was probably about 75 suites there. And I'm like, this is an opportunity to get in there and start helping every single one of those, you know, suite owners, to be able to help them with their business plan or structure, you know, meet with the owners, the landlords, and find out what do they have going for them. If not, here's an opportunity to help them to be able to build something bigger than themselves if they want it. And I love what you said, Chris, like, what do you want? Like, not what are your goals? What do you want? So that's huge. I'd love to hear from you. What should salons do right now? Because I know we have salon owners that are listening to this that have a 2-year program. Okay. What should they do? Because these salons have asked me, they said, Tina, how do I get your students? And this is how you get them. You have to speed up the process.
Yeah. I can put it down to 2 words. 3 words. I had to, my math was running out of fingers there. Is minimum. And I want you, everybody, if you're listening right now, if you're watching right now, I want you to write this down. Minimum salon standard. In every discipline. In design, in your hair cutting, in your and it might be hair cutting in bobs. It might be hair cutting in shags and layers. It might be whatever. You want to get that kid on the floor earning money as quickly as possible, where it used to be that we had to be good at everything. Then you earned your, and then you earned your station. Then you had to build your clientele. Get them on the bloody floor as soon as, if they can do a shampoo, good, get them on the floor. Get them to doing a shampoo. If they can apply a color, and if they can apply it to the minimum salon standards. And what that means is you have a set minimum standard for what a shampoo is, what a retouch refresh is, what a blow dry, a minimum blow dry is, or if you had 3 different blow dries, 5, whatever. The moment that they can meet the minimum standard on that, get them doing that on the floor. Get them doing that for somebody else. So a more senior person can take on a higher ticket item. Let me give you an example. One that you know of, one that you've all appreciated. I just was at my age, and again, for you, the gray hair, etc. Have I been in the hospital? Well, yes. Have I been in a doctor's office? Yes. You know how often I saw the doctor? I saw the doctor for maybe, I was in for an appointment, and I was in there for an hour and a half. I saw the doctor for 10 minutes. I was in the hospital, nothing serious. I'm not going anywhere. But I was in there for 2 days. Silly enough. You'll laugh if I told you the reason why, but nonetheless, I was in there for 2 days. I saw the doctor on my discharge. I didn't see him at all any time before that. Always the nurses took care of me. The nurses' assistants took care of me. And tooken. I speak 7 languages, English the best. But the reality is why are hairdressers so stuck on the fact that when the client walks in, it's my client, I've got to do everything from the shampoo. And even if I don't, well, that's menial, so I'll get them to do that. But I've got to do everything. I can do the consultation because that's for me. But why am I doing the the retouch? Why am I doing the blow dry? After I do the haircut, somebody else does the blow dry, etc.
Right.
That's the way you nobody's going to double or triple book, meaning, catch this, everybody, making twice and 3 times the amount of money if you want to do all the work yourself. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. The world has changed. We need to change. Nobody wants to come in and work for 2 years for nothing. Nobody wants to do 6 months of sitting behind a chair folding towels. They'll do 2 weeks. They'll do their due diligence, but we've got to give them a sight of where they go and how quickly can I get there so they'll work for the minimum wage if they know there's an end in sight in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, and there's an advance that they can get. But we've got to change. They don't.
Yeah. Chris, the elephant in the room is, how do you get the stylists to change? Because the owners want to change, but they find that they're butting heads with older, more experienced stylists that have been with them 15, 20 plus months. And so we're not changing. And then they get mad and upset and, that kind of situation. So how do you unite the whole team?
Well, again, I'm going to give you an opinion. And again, we've established what they are. Let them, don't make them change.
Yeah.
Just let them, but here's what I do is the young buck that is right beside them is doing what you're proposing, and they're making 2 to 3 times the money, making them, and let them have a look at it. My first point is ask them why. Why? What's your holdup? Well, they're my clients. Okay, great. Well, why do you feel? Why are they your clients? What? I know your clients. They love you. You love them. But what is it that really holds you to that belief? Excuse me 1 second. Our whole industry has to change here. If I was to do it all over right now and start a salon right now, I would be open 7 days a week. I would be open for 12 hours or more. And I would, if you wanted to come to me and you wanted to work for 2 days, you got a job. As long as you can do and meet the minimum salon standards. If you want to work 6 days, you can work 6 days. If you want to work, if you say, look, I don't want to work Saturdays, great, don't work Saturdays. I'll book somebody else in on Saturday. And I think we have to do that with the people that are working for us continue. They gave us loyalty for 10, 15 years. They don't want to change. Great. Don't make them change. But the new kids that come in, make them change. And then that'll help to persuade them or not. But we've got to stop. We've got to stop saying everybody must do it like this. This is the way that we must do it.
We've been doing it for 50 years this way.
Yeah, I've been doing it longer. You've been doing live. So you better do what I want to do. You just can't run your business that way anymore.
What I love about you, Chris, is you're that trainer. I have a coach right now that my team always says, she kicked me in the rear end, but in a fun way. And that's the kind of coach you are. And I love that so much because if you're not having fun, no one doesn't want to do it. Right?
Yeah. So sometimes you got to kick them. You got to kick them in the rear, but you have to have it's got to have a velvet boot.
I love that. So I definitely feel that there's going to be a part 2 coming of this. We're definitely going to have you back for more, because I would love to spend so many more hours picking your brain. But as we kind of wrap up, first, how can people find you? How can they follow you? And then second, what's heavy on your heart right now that you wanna leave our listeners with?
Okay, thank you. Well, the number one, if you just go to at Coach Chris Baran, CoachChrisBaran, and you go to at Coach Chris Baran, that's all my handles on Facebook and Insta, etc. I would highly suggest go to if you want to find out about there. I mean, I believe we just got it up. That if somebody wants to go and find out about Trainers Playbook and our Salon Associate Training program, If you go on there, I believe we've got a 15-day free trial where you can go through it and see what's everything is going on. You can go on there and get that done. And to your point is, if I had something to say to our industry, is that, you know, here's what I used to say is people ask me what we sell. And I said, you know, people think we sell time, we sell services, and I said, no, we sell hope, you know, is we help sell hope for the future. And I think that that's one thing that's missing in our business is that if we can sell hope to people, you know, hope means growth. Hope means I have a fear. I can help you with that fear so I can get rid of it. Or hope means I'm worried about my family. How can I help you take care of your family? I'm not going to give you money, but I can help you save money. I can help you say, look, if I want to save X amount of dollars, I'll help set up an account for you, set up a bank account, and I'll take money out of your account and put it into you. And when you want to do something, pay for something, I'll give that money back to you. To me, that's what that hope that you give people, that's what sells, and that's what retains trust in your relationship with your people. And it's that trust that you build. And that's, if you give people that, that's what creates loyalty. They're going to leave eventually because they might die, but they're going to leave eventually. And if they leave, that's just one of the many ways, but hopefully not that way. But the point is even if they leave, they're still going to trust you. They still going to remember you, and they're still going to come up and want to shake your hand from everything you taught them. So it's hope.
Perfectly put. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. We will definitely have you back up. Like Tina said, I'm sure for a second, third, fourth. You've been fantastic.
Yes.
We appreciate what you're doing for the industry, and have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And Tina and Sean, I want to thank you guys so much.
You're amazing, Chris. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.